Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Himes here with a special interview that I'm sneaking in on my own. I didn't even let Bob or Ben know I was going to do this interview. That's why I get to fly solo on this one. We're going to talk winning with a guy that, well, by the end of this, you'll understand why we're talking and maybe why I didn't even bring the other guys into the conversation. I want to introduce you to Josh Jabin, who's the COO of the Travis Manion Foundation. Josh, thanks for joining us on Win, Make, Give today.
Thanks, Chad. Great to be here.
So a lot of people out there, they just heard me say a whole bunch of things that they'll understand. Okay, Josh, they got you. They understand COO because a lot of people understand Chief Operating Officer of an organization, yet they possibly haven't heard about what the Travis Manion Foundation is. Let's start there. Before I even get to you, let's start with the Travis Manion Foundation because I know that's how you'd want to start anyway.
Yeah, so we're a community led by veterans and families of the fallen that serve together and support each other. We're named after Travis Manion, who was a first lieutenant in the Marine Corps, who paid the ultimate sacrifice in 2007. And like Travis, there are so many fallen heroes out there that have served and sacrificed for us. And so this is our way to honor their legacies by continuing their legacy of service.
Okay, so Travis was, and thanks to Travis and his family and the sacrifice that he made to, of course, keep our freedoms in place. And we'll hear a little bit more about it. So, Josh, who are you and how did you get involved in the Travis Manion Foundation? And tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So I grew up in New Jersey. I went to the Naval Academy in 1997. I was a senior at the Naval Academy on the wrestling team when I met Travis Manion, who was a freshman. After I graduated, I commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Marine Corps. Had the good fortune of meeting back up with Travis in late 2004, right before he deployed for his first tour of duty in Iraq. I deployed a little bit after that. I went for 12 months. He went for 6 months. After his first 6 months, he came home for a few months before redeploying for his second, which would end up being his final deployment. And there's a good story about Travis, which became our ethos. But Travis was, when he was in between those two tours, he's from the Philadelphia area. He and his brother-in-law decided that they were going to go to a Philadelphia Eagles game. Travis, big Eagles fan. Travis was a Marines Marine. He was a man's man. He had to go watch the Eagles while he was home and have a good time. And Travis always had a good time. We were at wrestling practice. Travis was having a good time. No matter what you were doing, Travis was having a good time. But he and his brother were, they had a good time at the Eagles game. They were walking out, and his brother-in-law jokingly said to him, "Hey, Trav, how about I push you down this flight of stairs so that you hurt your ankle and you don't have to redeploy for the second time?" And the second one we knew was going to be
what a loving brother. Loving brother right there.
Right? Of course. And Travis, who always was the first to crack a joke, he got real serious. And he said, "Dave, if I don't go back for the second tour of duty, somebody else is going to have to go in my place. If not me, then who?" And those are the 5 words that became the ethos of the Travis Manion Foundation. We lost him in 2007. His family started the foundation right away, originally as a way to honor him, but it took on a life of its own and just very organically, grassroots, started building throughout the country. Travis is our inspiration, but we honor all those fallen heroes by continuing to serve in their honor.
And that's such a great message, the "if not me, then who." I've got it right across the back of the shirt that I have from making it through one of his workouts and all that kind of stuff. So, Josh, tell us a little bit more about you, though. How long did you serve in the Marines?
I'm actually still serving right now. I finish up June 1st is my official retirement date. I did my first 12 years active duty, and now I've been serving for about 8 years as a reservist, while I'm also full-time the Chief Operating Officer with Travis Manion Foundation. So when I was making that transition off active duty around 2013, I was a big volunteer for Travis Manion Foundation. My last tour of duty, I was teaching at the Naval Academy. I loved being a teacher, being a mentor for future Marines. So when I had this opportunity to volunteer through Travis Manion Foundation to teach character and leadership to young adults through what's called the Character Does Matter program, I loved it. I got all into it. I was living in Annapolis. I was a volunteer race director for the Annapolis 9/11 Heroes Run with a couple other Marines. And, we're really in the early innings of starting this this community, and there's so many different communities out there, the CrossFit community, among others. And, everybody needs that thing in their life that they feel like they're at home. For so many years for me on active duty, the Marine Corps was my community. That was my friend, my friends. That was my way of giving back and serving. That's one of the key components as you're making that transition, is to make sure you still have that sense of community and that way to continue to serve. So when I got off active duty, it was just a very natural transition for me to make into the Travis Manion Foundation, serving in a leadership role as my next mission.
Got it. Love how you look at it as your next mission. So first of all, thank you for your continued service, soon to be your retired from. So thank you for your service to our country and to all of us out here who, whether we know what you've done or haven't done, we know you've done something that's kept all of us safe.
It's been my honor. Truthfully, it's been my honor. It's sad to retire at the end of 20 years. I mean, it's, that's still a huge part of my identity. Luckily for me, Travis Manion, I now have more Travis Manion Foundation shirts and attire than I do Marine Corps. But, being a Marine will always be part of my identity.
Yeah, I can't say I have any Marine Corps stuff in my closets. I have plenty of Travis Manion, Spartan, and Murph shirts filling up my drawers and all of that kind of stuff. I get to serve that way, I guess, by supporting the after the fact. So talk to us a little bit about it. We're here in season 2 of Win, Make, Give. We talk about winning. So Josh, give me a lesson, just one lesson that the Marines have taught you about winning.
So I think my transition from the Marine Corps is actually taught me probably the best lesson about winning. And, I've been competitive my entire life. I was a very competitive wrestler growing up through college, going into the Marine Corps, very competitive group of Marines, always trying to become the best leader of Marines. And, but I really think that the best lesson about winning occurred during my transition. And I think the lesson that I would share with anybody is make sure that whatever it is that you're winning is something that actually matters. I think sometimes we get so caught up in having to win everything that we end up putting a lot of time into things. And then once we win them, we look back and we say, did that even matter? My original transition in 2013, I went to work somewhere else before I started with Travis Manion Foundation. And I had talked with the family, Colonel Mannion and Ryan, who's our president, during my original transition. And I said, hey, I want to come work at Travis Manion Foundation someday. But first, I'm going to go make a lot of money and I'm going to set my family up. I had just had my first child. We're about to have number 2. I had just got married and had a house. And I was dead set on making as much money as I was as a major with 12 years in, where I was when I got off of active duty. And I went out and I found that job and I thought I won. Everybody was talking about how difficult that transition is off active duty. And here I am, patting my back, hey, look, you this was your goal and you won. A few months in, all of a sudden I woke up and realized wow, I'm not as happy as I used to be as an active duty Marine, and started thinking I will never have that feeling again in my life. And the truth was I just set the wrong goal. The goal of making the most money I could wasn't going to bring happiness. It was the wrong focus. And I worked hard to get that job. And I had, but for me, it was about reorienting on what is most important. And that brought me back to Travis Manion Foundation. And that included a big pay cut from what I was making in that initial job to what I was then making as the chief operating officer of Travis Manion Foundation back in 2015. But that wasn't the goal anymore. The salary wasn't how I defined winning anymore. It was about these other things. Do you have that sense of community? Do you have that sense of importance? Do you have that way of serving and feeling like you have your next mission? Are you proud to take your children to work and to introduce them to the people that you work with? Are you proud to bring them to a service project or to an athletic event? And are am I setting the right example and being the best role model for my children? Am I present in my children's lives? And so I think that's my lesson is make sure that whatever that goal is, it's something that when you put everything you have into it, that you're going to be so proud and it's going to really mean something when you achieve it.
Wow. I think everybody should hit the back 30 seconds, maybe back 1 minute by now, and just answer all those questions you just ran through, Josh, right? I mean, am I, active in my children's life? Am I proud to take them here? Am I setting that right example? What great questions, because how many of us do set winning just means I make the most money, or winning just means I have the biggest house or the fancy car and stuff like that. And what you're really saying right there was finding out truly what winning means. And that's making sure that it's something that actually lines up with who you are as a person.
That's right. And you know what, Chad, like that answer changes for all of us, and that's okay. I think that's something that each person has to go through that process of exploring on their own. I have other friends who have their own goals that mean something to them that are different than my own. It doesn't mean that I'm right and they're wrong. I have one of my close friends. I mean, he every weekend, one of my close friends from the Marine Corps, physical stud, and he's out there doing these crazy challenges all the time. And I look and I just think about how much time he puts into them. And to him, like, he's doing the right thing because that means a lot to him. And when he wins at them, that means a lot to him. If I went out and tried to do what he's doing, thinking that that's going to mean as much to me, it would fall flat. But so I think, like, for each person, that means something different. And I think that's the part that each person needs to explore.
Interesting. I love that. Okay, so let's talk about the foundation. How does Travis Manion Foundation bring you a win, and how does it win? Let's talk about winning over there at the foundation.
So, it all comes back to, like, mission and vision and values. Our mission is about empowering veterans and families of the fallen to empower character in the next generation. So, number one priority is about making sure that we're taking care of and supporting veterans and families of the fallen so that they thrive in their lives. And thriving, that's a technical term that we borrow from positive psychology, which underpins all of our programming. And positive psychology teaches us the different components of well-being, making sure that you have that sense of purpose, making sure that you have those relationships, that camaraderie, as we had as Marines, making sure that you have engagement, which is about knowing your strengths and leveraging them to serve others, make an impact. And so, I think, number one, we define our success. Are we helping veterans and families of the fallen to improve their own mental health and well-being? We actually measure that, and we put out a report each year. So that's the top priority. But number two, if you look at that mission statement, is about developing character in the next generation. And it's about how those veterans and families of the fallen, so once they have their training, once they have their support, once they have their community, how do they use all that to go out and for them to serve others? What's the impact that they're having on those youth through our character program? What's the impact that they're having on their communities through our other volunteer leadership opportunities? And again, those are things that we measure. And so that's another way. And if we're doing both of those things, if our veterans and our survivors are doing well, and if they're having that positive impact on the next generation in our communities, if we have both of them in place, then as an organization, we're winning.
Josh, you just made it so clear, having a mission statement, and you knew it like that. I mean, it wasn't something you had to read, but your eyes didn't go down and look at something. The mission statement of the foundation, and that's basically the scoreboard, right? That's the way of looking at winning and saying, look, if we are doing this, which is our mission, we win. It doesn't matter what else we're doing. It doesn't matter what else we're not doing. This is what we do. So does everybody out there have a mission statement for themselves, for their business, for their organizations, for their families? Because a mission statement is basically that goal line that says, do this, you win.
I love the way that you just brought that back to each individual, because absolutely, you're right. I think a lot of times we know that as an organization, we need a mission statement. But what you just said about, does each person have that mission statement? And it comes back to this idea of, setting what is important to you. Different people have different physical goals. Different people have different career goals, different goals for your personal life or with your family or your kids. And those goals can change over time, right? Like, as children grow up, they need, well, I don't know about less assist support, but just in different ways. I mean, I now have a 9-year-old, and I also have a 6-year-old and a 3-month-old. The 3-month-old obviously needs very different support than the 9-year-old. 9-year-old's very independent, but she still obviously needs support. But so these goals can change over time. So I think it's constant, it's having that mission statement and constantly reassessing what those near, short-term, medium-term, long-term goals are.
And Josh, just as a warning, I have a 20-year-old, so they always need. It's just a matter of, as you said, what that looks like. So, you've talked a lot already about the foundation. I keep hearing from you, and obviously it's my trigger, and obviously it's why I didn't bring Bob and Ben on, for everybody who's a regular of our podcast going, well, Chad, of course you're just talking to this guy. And that's because there's so much health in this conversation, even though we haven't looked at it in detail. And folks, I'm going to tell you, if you're not also listening to our other podcast, the 15-point plan, I'm going to actually have a second conversation with Josh over there where we're going to talk about the foundation's health goals and mental health goals and physical health goals, which is how I found the foundation myself. So we'll have that conversation over there. Come find us. Just search for 15-point plan anywhere that you get your podcast, or go to 15pointplan.com. It'll direct you right to the podcast to hear that part of the conversation. Yet let's keep talking about this winning conversation. And you've talked about you've talked about the Marines, right? You've talked about the foundation in winning. And another thing I keep hearing from you is community, 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 community. Talk about how community creates that winning world that you can be a part of.
You ever hear the expression that you are a reflection of your 5 closest friends or something along those lines?
Just did an episode on the 15-point plan about your influences and all of that kind of stuff. Absolutely.
I mean, I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. Whoever you decide to spend the rest of your life with, that life partner is one of the key people that will determine your own success. Who you surround yourself with at work, or who you work out with, or who you do serve others with, all these things. And to me, I had that. I had that my entire life. It was always my wrestling team, right? Like that was my community. Those were my best friends, whether it was high school, whether it was college. My Navy wrestling team, still some of my best friends today. Some of my high school wrestling team, some of my best friends today. And you push each other, and you learn how to, somebody has a bad loss or a bad practice, even, you know how to pick each other up. That's exactly what we have in the Marine Corps. That's that sense of camaraderie. Don't think for a second that every day of my life as a Marine was enjoyable and something that I would love to do over. I could say on the whole, having gone through 20 years, if you gave me the opportunity to start over, I would. But believe me, there's plenty of difficult days in between. But you have your team around you to pick you up, and hopefully I was there to pick up other people. I think as a leader of Marines, I know what it feels like to be part of on a winning team, and what it feels like to have those people around you that push you and you push them and you make each other better, right? Whether it was sports, whether it was the Marine Corps. And so for me, I want that for everybody. I want everybody, whether if you played sports or not, if you were in the military or not, I want everybody to experience what that feels like. And that's what we think through Travis Manion Foundation that we can bring to these communities. Pull them in, be a part of Travis Manion Foundation, and you can feel what it feels like to be part of the winning team. You can feel what it's like to be a contributing team member, that when you're having a bad day, somebody else is going to pull you up, or you're looking out for the person to the left of you and the person to the right of you, that if they need someone to help them out, you're going to pull them up. And, I truly believe that if you experience that just a little bit, you're going to want more. And everybody wants, to be a part of that winning.
And Josh, if not me, then who? Right. So I got to pick those people up because I don't know that anybody else actually will. So to come back to the Travis Manion's 5 power words right there, if not me, then who? Let me ask you this. Give us an example of winning with the Travis Manion Foundation. There's got to be a success story that you love telling people about how the organization, the foundation, has truly been able to help somebody at a level. Let's hear a win of the foundation.
I mean, we have a great website with lots of great stories. We are storytellers at the heart of what we do. That is our character program, is sharing stories about character and leadership through storytelling. We're not some academic course that right. which is necessary, and it's good to go to school for that. But we're all about storytelling. And I'll tell you one that we just found out about last week, which really weighs heavily on me, which is one of our chapter leaders. And I'll leave out names to protect privacy, but one of our chapter leaders let us know about a great project that she was involved in. She's a veteran, and she's out there leading within her location in I'll say Mid-Atlantic. That's the most information I'll give. She was at a service project that she coordinated with the rest of her chapter about a year ago, and she met a retired Marine, and he was down on his luck. It was a homeless shelter, and our team was coming in, our team of volunteers was coming in to help out some people that were down on their luck. And this Marine, it like struck a chord with him, the if not me, then who, and meeting this team of volunteers, and he ended up helping himself out and getting himself back on his feet. And as soon as he did, he was ready to join the team and start helping out others and paying it forward again. But then, through some unfortunate circumstances, he was the victim of somebody scamming. And once that happened, it was so hard for him to like build himself up, and then he got knocked down pretty hard. And he reached back out to our chapter leader, and he was so appreciative of the influence that she had on him that he felt that he owed it to her to give a goodbye call. And she, as a veteran, said, "Oh, hell no, this is not goodbye." And to make a long story short, she saved his life that night. And she knew exactly how to talk to him to say, "Hey, we're going to make it through to tomorrow." And he did. And then by the next day, he was able to get some more help, resolve the financial situation, some of the other things going on in his life. And he's alive today because of her. At the heart of everything that we do, these are the stories that are the ultimate wins, because there's nothing more precious than a human life, especially somebody who served in the Marine Corps or any military branch who has served others. We're all down on our luck at some time. We all need someone to pick us up, and fortunately for him, he had the right person there to help him out.
Wow. Right. That's amazing what the foundation has been able to do. It's amazing what she was able to do, that she was there for him, and that the foundation is there to continue to help in all these wonderful situations. So you mentioned in there, you have a website that people could read some of the other things and see some. Have the plug. Go. Where do they go?
We make it easy. TravisManion.org. Come to our website. We do a lot. So a lot of people tell us like it's you could stay on our website for a very long time, but jump on there, click around, read some great stories. We got some good advice about different courses on well-being and related topics. Find out events close to you. But just take that first step. Just come check us out and see if this is the type of group that you want to be a part of.
And while you're there, if you want to leave a donation, I'm sure there's a place to click on the website, right, Josh?
Every nonprofit has that button to click if you wish to give. Absolutely.
There you go. And we hope everybody's going to share this episode with as many people as possible, because based on the number of listens we generate in the first 30 days, we are going to make a donation to the Travis Manion Foundation based upon every listen we can get over the first 30 days. So folks, share this interview. Share this episode with as many of your friends as possible. Post it in all the different places so that we can help raise some money for the Travis Manion Foundation. Okay, so
that's awesome. Appreciate that.
We live up to the win, make, give part of win, make, give. So, all right, before we wrap this up, give me that lesson that you want to leave everybody with. So you've shared with me one from the Marines for you. You've shared with me with the foundation. You've shared an example of a win. But give everybody something that even after all of that, they can still grab and say, there's my takeaway if I didn't get one for some reason.
I'll give you the one that I've learned the most through Travis Manion Foundation, through my teammates at Travis Manion Foundation. We already talked about having that strong mission statement for as an organization or as an individual, being able to know what are the most important things in my life, and then creating a plan that gets you to that place. The other part that I mentioned but didn't speak as much about is our values. And to me, the values, that's your company culture. That's who you are. That describes who you are. As a Marine, you know what the Marine Corps culture is going in. And the Marine Corps does a fantastic job of finding the people that will fit into that culture. And if you don't, you're going to know that right away. But you join and the values say honor, courage, and commitment. And you go through boot camp and it gets drilled into you, and then you go out to your unit and everybody gets it. And your job is upholding that culture. At TMF, it was interesting because when I started, we had those words, but what we didn't have was a clearly articulated, who is successful at our organization. And we went through this whole process of revamping those values to be descriptive, to say, here are the things that we value at Travis Manion Foundation and the type of people that are successful here. And we came up with some really good ones, and they're not the one word ones. And the one that I'll talk about is failure is a bruise, not a tattoo. And we truly believe this. There's 50 of us supporting 130.
Wait. Hang on. You got to say that again, because that's a great one right there. Say that again.
One of our values is failure is a bruise, not a tattoo. And what we mean by that is we encourage risk taking. We are 50 people supporting 130,000 plus members. And in order to do that, we need we don't hire people that want to follow a recipe. We don't have a recipe. We have guidelines, we have goals, we have left and right limits, as we talk about it in the military. But then we empower our people. All 50 of them own their piece of the pie. They own their area of responsibility. And we say to them, within these left and right limits, go fulfill the mission in the best way that you know how. And that changes around the country. What works in Houston does not necessarily work in San Diego, does not necessarily work in Philadelphia, for example. And so, we tell them, go out there and try things. And sometimes when you try things, sometimes they work brilliantly and other people want to repeat that, but sometimes they don't. And if you try something and it doesn't work, well, failure is a bruise, not a tattoo. And we learn from it and we move on. But we want everyone to be an entrepreneur. We want everybody to be able to take risks. And by defining these values and being able to clearly state, here are the things that we value, we've done a much better job of bringing the right people into the organization. We've done a much better job of retaining the right people within the organization. And that's not, if somebody doesn't work out for us, that doesn't mean they're like a bad person. It just means they weren't a good fit with us. So I think, for no matter where you are at an organization, whether you're looking to join or whether you're a leader at that organization, up and down the ranks, I think having a clearly defined, well articulated, this is what we value here, having a well-defined culture, and that makes sure that you're successful today and you'll continue to sustain that success going forward.
That's awesome. I love that. We talked about mission, vision, values back in season 1, episode 47, for anyone who wants to go scrolling all the way back and check it out. One of the challenges that we gave at that time was take your last name, take your family name, and break each letter down to become the values of what your family is all about. Now, imagine if you're 9, you're 6, and then your 3-month-old all grow up knowing what those letters stand for and knowing who they are on the inside for it. So there's a challenge from us to everybody out there that's listening to this. All right. So gang, that was a lot on winning. And that was Josh, thanks. Right. I mean, wow. Now there's so much more to the Travis Manion Foundation other than just winning. And there's the health side of it, whether that's physical or mental, because as you and I were talking at the beginning, Travis was, he was a beast. I mean, he wasn't a little guy, was he? No, he wasn't. And the workout, the Travis Manion WOD, I'm going to tell you right here, folks, I'll probably claim it's one of the 2 hardest workouts I've ever done in my life. And we'll be talking about that on the 15-point plan. So we really hope you'll come and you'll join Josh and I on our 15-point plan podcast to hear a little bit more about the health side of the Travis Manion Foundation. Until then, Josh, we're going to make a donation to the Travis Manion Foundation. As I said, we hope everybody's sharing this episode so that we get as many listens as possible to raise that. And maybe some of our listeners will just jump right to the travismanion.org website and make a donation on their own. Folks, remember to share this episode. Remember to join our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/win-make-give, where we talk about these winning lessons when we talk about these episodes. And until our next one, remember, as always, do good.